Poorly lit Scott Holiday here, and welcome back to Plus 2 Wrestling. I am just back from AEW Double or Nothing. Yeah, I went out to Vegas and enjoyed some Double or Nothing. If you want to hear some thoughts on that, I recommend you check out a really cool podcast called Stay Tuned, where you'll get some thoughts on the experience that was AEW's Double or Nothing. But that's all I'm going to say because this is a very long episode and I don't want to waste any time. So let's get to Scott's Soapbox. So today on the Soapbox, I was asked a very interesting question. I was simply asked, who is the greatest wrestler of all time, by a friend of mine who's not really into wrestling? And I said, well, that's not a very easy answer to give, because what makes a good wrestler really depends on a lot of factors. Like, are we talking about who was the biggest draw, who was the biggest heel, who was the greatest babyface? And he was like, babyface? Like, young? And I was like, no, I was saying, like, the good guy. Like, it's different than, like, the protagonist, I guess, but, like, a hero, someone that you cheer for. And he's like, well, like, who's the greatest babyface, like, not in wrestling? Like, give me, like, a jumping off point. And I stared at him for a really long time. And I said, that's gonna make a great Scott Soapbox. So today, we're gonna sit down and we are gonna crown the greatest babyface of all time, not in wrestling. Put in the comments right now, who do you think will be crowned the greatest babyface in non-wrestling media? So this is what we're going to do. I went online and I asked my friends, wrestling fans, other people in the business who they thought the greatest babyface was outside of wrestling. Who was the greatest babyface in other media? And I took a lot of their responses along with some of my personal picks, and I've decided we are going to do a 30-person over-the-top rope battle royal, and one of these individuals will be crowned the greatest babyface of all time. Now, I picked these again based off suggestions and my own feelings. There was a few people I had to disqualify. I didn't want to do real people, so I got a lot of suggestions of Obama and Dolly Parton. Sorry, but they can't be part of this. And I also didn't include anyone that I couldn't find a good PNG for. So apologies to Jason Mendoza from The Good Place. A lot of good vibes there, but sorry, Lucha Cookies, no room in the Rumble for him. And also apologies to the Opinion City podcast for not including Dr. Mark Green. I couldn't find a good PNG of him to stick him in the Rumble. Also, Dr. Mark Green might be the worst wrestling name I've ever heard. Dr. Mark Green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what makes a good babyface. It's different than being a hero or a protagonist. This is specifically what makes a good babyface. And any of those that don't really fit the criteria are going to tumble over the top rope until we are left with only one. Let's get started. Number one, a babyface fights for what they believe in. That's pretty much everyone. I mean, that's what it takes to be like a hero or a protagonist, is you kind of need to be like working towards a thing. It's hard to be a babyface and be passive. I mean, Orange Cassidy pulls it off, but he still fights. Addendum. Number one, a babyface fights for what they believe in. Physically. I think we are safe to assume that the greatest babyface in wrestling of all time is not going to be a manager or a commentator or a referee. Yes, we have babyface managers and babyface commentators, but they don't fight physically. I think we would agree that in the world of wrestling, the greatest babyface of all time is a wrestler. So I think for that reason, we have to get rid of anyone that doesn't fight physically for what they believe in. So unfortunately, in the first round, we have to say goodbye to Ted Lasso, who is a coach. We have to say goodbye to Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. He He legitimately is an advocate for someone. So I don't think Paul Heyman's going to be the greatest babyface of all time. And unfortunately, sorry to Kate Nix who suggested this, we got to say goodbye to SpongeBob because SpongeBob doesn't fight physically. Oh. Alright, fine. We'll keep SpongeBob. But for the same reason, we're keeping Mr. Rogers because he won the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. Number 2, a babyface has to work for what they have. One of the greatest babyfaces of all time is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, the son of a plumber. And what makes him such a relatable babyface is that he was the son of a plumber. He was just a common man, but he worked really hard to become one of the greatest wrestlers of the time. That's why he was such a great babyface when put against a heel like Ric Flair. The jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling dealing, kiss stealing against Ric Flair. So I think we have to do the same sort of guidelines for these characters. So anyone that's a hard worker gets to stay. I mean, Mario actually is a plumber. He's not the son of a... He might be the son of a plumber, but he's still a plumber. So that's why Mario has to stay. Rocky, every Rocky movie, we see how hard Rocky works to win his fight. We always get that montage of him running up the steps or running up the mountains and things like that. So Rocky always works for what he wants, so he's a good baby face. Batman trained incessantly to become Batman. Like, it's his own personal training along with what he learned with Ra's al Ghul to really craft his body into the creature that he became, and the symbol that he became was all crafted by Bruce Wayne, so he's got to stay. I think an argument could be made against Captain America because, you know, Steve Rogers was a very small individual, and then the super serum, the super soldier serum, is what gave him the powers. But Steve Rogers, before that process, is a hero. He's willing to sacrifice his body for the good of the troop. He dives on a grenade. He works really, really hard in an attempt to become a soldier without the serum. He wants to join the army. He wants to become a soldier because that's what he believes in, and he's willing to put in the work to get there. He earns the right to get that serum, so we're keeping Captain America. But I do think we have to get rid of anyone who's considered a chosen one. I mean, chosen ones, those are heels. Like Jeff Jarrett, the chosen one, was a heel. Drew McIntyre, when he was handpicked by Vince McMahon, immediately made him a heel. So if you are a chosen one, I think we have to say goodbye to you. So that's going to knock out Neo from The Matrix, for he is the one. It's an anagram. You ever notice? Also, we have to say goodbye to Sailor Moon. That also means getting rid of Buffy Summers, for the Slayer is chosen. In every generation, a Slayer is born. And I think that also gets rid of Emmett from the Lego Movie.
The power of the special.
There are a few, though, that I think are walking the line, but I think we have to count points against them. They're against the ropes right now. One, Superman. Superman, the last son of Krypton, was chosen to be flown out of Krypton before it was destroyed, and then it is the sun that gives him his powers. But he does have to choose how to wield them, so we're hitting a gray area there. The Power Rangers were selected for being teenagers with attitude, and then thus given power. They were all martial artists beforehand, so they were working towards it, but it is definitely a chosen process to give them the coins that allow them to transform, or morph rather, into the Power Rangers. James Bond is a little bit of a tough person to keep around in this category because a lot of what makes James Bond is the gadgets that he's given by Q. It could be argued that he worked to become James Bond and pass his spy exam. So, again, a bit of a gray area. And, of course, SpongeBob, because I don't want SpongeBob to win. I don't. Number 3, a babyface does what it takes to win, but no more. So basically, a babyface, in their mind, is going to go out there for every match and give it their all, push their body to the limit, and do what it takes to win that match. But when the match is over, they are going to grab their opponent by the hand, help them up, shake their hand, and thank them for a sporting competition. That's just the mindset of a babyface. They're out there to wrestle a match, to have a sporting contest, not to injure the person they're in the ring with. We're seeing this storyline right now with Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay has what is now considered the most dangerous move in professional wrestling, the Tiger Driver. So now every time he's in a match, he knows he can break out the Tiger Driver and win. But is it worth it? Is winning a match worth injuring someone? That's the moral quandary that Will Ospreay faces now every time he steps in between those ropes. And we've seen this many times with weapons. For example, remember when Sami Zayn was trying to capture the NXT title and he held the title in his hand and he thought about hitting Neville and then he just couldn't do it? We saw that in AEW not too long ago with the Four Pillars match, where Jack Perry wasn't sure if he should use that title as a weapon to knock out MJF. And eventually, he doesn't do it because he's a babyface. We saw it with Bayley. There was a match between Bayley and Alexa Bliss where Bayley wasn't sure how to use a kendo stick because she's a babyface. She doesn't hit people with weapons. She wins matches with wrestling moves. I think we booed all three of those times. I think this is a trope that we don't really like as wrestling fans because we feel like it's just a babyface being stupid. But it is what a babyface does. A babyface doesn't aim to injure, just to do what is necessary. And we have some fine examples of that. We have Superman. Superman has said that every time he's been punched in the face, he rolls with the punch. Because if he doesn't, the attacker will break their hand. Spider-Man says he has never used all of his power in a fight, ever. Because he knows if he threw a punch with full force, he'd blow a hole in a guy's chest. We see that in every single episode of the Power Rangers. You may wonder why the Power Rangers, every time they're sent a monster from Rita Repulsa, why they don't just jump in the Megazord and step on them. Because they are morally bound not to use more force than is necessary to defeat an opponent. So every time, they aim to win, but not by going too far. We even see it from The Bride. The Bride, when The Bride fought the Crazy 88s, kills a lot of people, but finds one that doesn't deserve to die. Just deserves a spanking and be sent home to their mother instead of a decapitation.
This is what you get for fucking around with Yakuzas! Go home to your mother!
Good job, Bride. You get to stay because of that. But we do have to say goodbye to a few people here. We definitely have to say goodbye to Peacemaker, which feels weird that we have a battle royal of the greatest babyfaces of all time, and we're throwing John Cena out already. But Peacemaker says, peace by any means necessary. Peace no matter what the cost. That is not what a babyface does. I love the show, but John Cena, you're out of here. I think we also have to say goodbye to Kratos. Kratos killed everyone. Like, everyone. He unnecessarily killed a ship captain, like, repeatedly. Like he died multiple times in the same game and then showed up in multiple other games just to die to Kratos while he begged.
Thank you! Thank the gods you came back for me!
I didn't come back for you.
No!
I don't think that makes you a babyface. Sorry, Kratos. And you know what? We're going to use this to get rid of SpongeBob, because SpongeBob has left many of his opponents morally and emotionally destroyed after the psychological torture that he imposed on them. Sorry, Kate Nix. No SpongeBob. Get him off the board. Number 4, a babyface fights for the right reasons. Just to be clear, this doesn't mean following the rules. Eddie Guerrero used to lie, cheat, and steal all the time, but in a fun, cheeky way, which made him a babyface. So this is not about following rules, this is about morality. This is the motive behind what you're doing. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin was a rattlesnake. He was constantly flipping people off and attacking authority figures. But when his greatest rival had his daughter kidnapped by the ministry, he still saved Stephanie McMahon. And when asked why, he simply said, because it was the right thing to do, and nobody else could. So, we have to look at all of these people and see if they're fighting for the right reasons. And believe it or not, we're going to lose a lot of people on this one. First and foremost, we have to say goodbye to Rorschach. To be honest, we probably should have said goodbye to Rorschach in the last round because dogs get put down is his motto, but we're talking about a guy who stands on a rooftop, and when people look up to him and shout, "Help," he looks down and says, "No, that's not what a babyface does." We also have to say goodbye to the bride. The bride's entire motive is based off of revenge. I know that she is trying to reconnect with her daughter, but she doesn't know that at the beginning. It's all revenge-based. I think we actually have to say goodbye to Cloud. Cloud's a mercenary. Like, a lot of his motivations is money and his job. It's not until later that he's kind of fighting for the good of the world, but he joins a terrorist group for money, not to save the world. And if we're talking about jobs, I think we also have to say goodbye to James Bond. James Bond is, one of the greatest weapons for the UK, but if he was in another country, he would probably still be a spy and be fighting for the wrong reasons. So I think just because he's fighting for his country doesn't mean his motives are great. So we're going to get rid of James Bond for that. I also think we have to get rid of Wesley, the Dread Pirate Roberts. Those people who go around pillaging and stealing and sinking ships. He was a pirate. He was the pirate. He was the Dread Pirate Roberts for quite some time. He's got to have some skeletons in his closet, along with those rats of unusual size. And I know the next couple are going to feel really weird, but we're losing a couple more. We got to lose Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker tried to kill Kylo Ren when he was asleep. That is succumbing to fear. That is not the actions of a Jedi. Mario's a psychopath. There's an entire MatPat video about that, but he's always abusing turtles and disrespecting his brother. You watch the MatPat video. That'll explain everything.
Electrocuting baby apes, trampling his brother's victories, these aren't necessary for saving the Mushroom Kingdom. Instead, these are the moments that show his true personality.
We have to say goodbye to Captain America. Captain America, canonically, is Hydra, and was always Hydra until the use of the Cosmic Cube fixed everything. So, hail Hydra, I guess, and so long to Captain America. And finally, we have to say goodbye to Pikachu. I know, everybody loves Pikachu, but check out episode 17 of the original series of the Pokemon anime. That's the land of the giant Pokemon, where the Pokemon are separated from their trainers. Meowth asks Ekans and Coughing of Team Rocket to help them attack Pikachu. And Ekans responds, "No, you're not master." And when Meowth says, "You don't need your master to do bad things," Ekans responds, "Pokemon aren't bad. Pokemon only bad because master is bad." Which is kind of like this nice thing, they're not inherently evil. Which also means Pokemon aren't good. They're only good because master is good. So Pikachu, by themselves, is not a babyface. It's actually the actions of Ash Ketchum that makes Pikachu a babyface. So it is not the morality of Pikachu. Which means we have to say goodbye to Pikachu. And now, the field looks like this. I know, this was a rough one, but we'll get through it together. Number 5, a babyface never takes a step backwards. This was something that was told to me on my very first day of training. A babyface, what makes them a babyface, is their willingness to face any obstacle. When they are face to face with an opponent, if they take a step backwards, that's showing cowardice, that shows that they don't believe in themselves, and thus how are we supposed to believe in them when they don't even believe in themselves? They must be willing to face any challenge head on, regardless of situation or the size of the opponent. A babyface never takes a step backwards. This is more points for Rocky. Rocky is willing to take on any challenge, no matter how beaten up he is. Cut me, Mick. Cut me. This is also points for Marty McFly, because nobody calls me a chicken. I've been working on that impression for a while, and it's still not very good. But we do have to say goodbye to some people. You know who quits a lot? Like, I don't think I can think of a version of this character that didn't eventually end up quitting. That's Spider-Man. Like, every Spider-Man story has the story where he throws the suit away, or he's losing his powers, and he's just like, well, I guess I'm not Spider-Man anymore. Thank God I don't have that responsibility anymore. Time to go do science. That is a common Spider-Man storyline, so that is a step backwards. And if you are asked to join the fight against evil, and your response is to go F yourself, well, you're either Christian Cage or you're Wolverine. Wolverine always needs constant convincing to join the team and fight for what's right. We gotta say goodbye to Spider-Man and Wolverine this round. Number 7, a babyface takes the heat. So the basic structure of a wrestling match, to pull back the curtain, and if you're watching this show, it's probably been exposed to you a few times, but basically you start with a shine where the babyface does a bunch of cool stuff, and this is why we like the babyface, awesome, and then a cutoff where a heel puts an end to that babyface shine and heats him up. This is where the babyface takes a beating. This is what gets the audience to believe in them. Oh, they're in peril. Our hero is in peril. We want him to do better. Come on. Come on, break out of this heat. And then eventually there will be a comeback and a finish. But it's very important to have that moment where we see the babyface struggle. They are hurt. They are injured. They take the heat. And a couple people here, they're not really known for taking the heat. First, we got to get rid of Superman, because he's Superman. Like, the only time he really takes the heat is when a glowy rock from his home planet is rubbed on his body somewhere. For the most part, a lot of people that are a threat to him really are threatening the people around him. Like, without a Lois Lane to protect, Superman would be unstoppable. There's a whole Injustice storyline to explain that. So we got to get rid of Superman because he doesn't take enough heat. For the same reason, we got to get rid of Batman. Batman gets beat up quite a bit. Like, it's not surprising to see Batman bleed, but not in a way that you're like, oh, Batman's gonna lose this one. Like, everyone has that belief, oh, he's going to win because Batman. And that makes it no longer an effective heat. So, out goes Batman. I think we got to get rid of the Power Rangers on this one as well, because I can't think of a time where like, oh no, the Power Rangers are going to lose. If anything, they kind of go into the fight like a heel. Like, they beat everybody up, and then the Babyface comes back in that Rita Repulsa sends in like a monster, and then they morph to cut it off, and then they beat him up. And then the monster tries to make a comeback by growing real strong, and then that gets cut off by the Megazord. Like, it's kind of structured like a heel, because they always come out on top. They don't really suffer much, because they're the Power Rangers. They're always going to win. So I think we got to kick out the Power Rangers. I also think we got to kick out Doctor Who. I know that there's been lots of versions of Doctor Who, but like, the struggle of Doctor Who is never like, oh man, he's getting his ass kicked. It's more psychological than that. So I think Doctor Who gets the boot here. I've never seen Mr. Rogers take a heat. It'd be horrible if he did, so let's just go ahead and say Mr. Rogers doesn't win this one. And also, I think I gotta get rid of Marty McFly. I'm a huge Back to the Future fan. I really am. But he's kind of like that cool heel NWO guy. Like, he's never really in trouble. It's just a delay before he does another cool thing. Like, yeah, he got punched in the gut and thrown into a trunk once, but like, there's no heat in the skateboarding or hoverboarding scenes. He's fine and looking cool the whole time. He's never really suffering. So that means the field now looks like this. This is a really interesting field now. We're down to just 3. And I've said a lot of good things about Rocky, but I haven't really said anything about Ripley or Katniss. Ripley, of course, faces a horrible monster in the Xenomorph, never takes a step backwards, definitely is on the ropes and gets beaten up by this horrible monster again and again, and is fighting for, not just her life, but her cat and her surrogate child in the second one. Alright, so Ellen Ripley definitely fits this, and then of course Katniss Everdeen enters the Hunger Games, volunteers.
I volunteer as tribute!
She volunteers as tribute, so that's not taking a step backwards, and, she definitely doesn't go in there looking like she's going to win. I know she's ranked higher, but the careers definitely do a number on her. She has to hide in a tree, she uses her mind and her skills to release the tracker jackers. Alright, we got 3 good choices here. Let's see who's winning this thing. Number 8, a babyface overcomes. Nobody wants to see a babyface that loses. Like, there are some great mid-card babyfaces that elevate heels by eating losses, but that's gonna prevent them from being the greatest babyface of all time. Like, when we think of the greatest baby faces in professional wrestling, we think of our John Cenas and our Daniel Bryans. We don't think of our Coco Bewares. We don't think of those people that were used to elevate. So it is important that the greatest babyface of all time overcomes. And of course we have Katniss Everdeen, who overthrew the whole Capitol, and we have Ellen Ripley, who destroyed a bunch of xenomorphs and also overthrew the Queen. And then we got Rocky. When I first started writing this script, I had Rocky pegged as my winner. Because he's Rocky. Everyone believes in him. I'm from Philadelphia. Rocky. Rocky doesn't win that much. Like, Rocky's all about going the distance, but he often loses. And if you go back and you watch, like, I think it's Rocky 3 where he fights Mr. T, he had been taking easy fights. Like, he didn't know that, but that was the truth of the matter. I think when it comes to overcoming, Rocky doesn't always get the job done. So we're going to say goodbye to Rocky. Now the field looks like this. Number 8. A babyface has a ritual. So one of the big things about being a babyface is having that signature thing you do. And I'm not talking about your signature move. I'm kind of talking about your taunts and your setups to your move. Like, this is Shawn Michaels tuning up the band. This is Daniel Bryan getting the yes chant started. This is Razor Ramon flicking a toothpick and telling you it's over. This is Drew McIntyre counting down the Claymore. It is important to have a ritual to go along with your move so that the audience can connect to it. And looking at these two, I don't think I can really say that Ripley has a ritual. I mean, she's known for the famous line,
Get away from her, you bitch!
but I wouldn't say that she has a ritual the way other people have a ritual. So I think we have to say goodbye to Ripley. And now the field looks like this. You know, you think I would have centered Katniss a little more in the picture if it was gonna turn out like this, but it looks like Katniss Everdeen. Oh wait, I got one more. Hold on. Number 9. A babyface can get it done on the mic. So you will notice when it comes to a babyface that they usually speak for themselves, and heels tend to have managers. This has been made very, very clear when you look at the way that they use Brock Lesnar. When Brock Lesnar, despite the fact that he is one of the biggest names in the history of the WWE, and people are going to cheer for him regardless, because look at the size of that monster, you will notice that when we are supposed to boo him, he won't speak. He'll stand there and do his little hippity hops. But Paul Heyman does all the talking. Unless he's a babyface. When he's a babyface, then he's all about chatting. And this even happened with his run with Paul Heyman. Like, there were times where he was a babyface, still with Heyman, and Heyman would take a step back and let Brock talk for himself. It is important that a babyface is able to use the microphone to get themselves over. That is an effective babyface. And Katniss isn't known for that. Like, the whole thing about the Hunger Games is that it's not just a physical test, it's a reality show. Like, a big part of the Hunger Games is getting your message across, getting sponsors, getting people to believe in your cause. And a big part of the strategy was that she was supposed to have this kind of loving relationship with Peeta, and she just couldn't quite pull it off. Like, there's a whole part where she's like spinning in her dress and she almost falls off the stage and Caesar just kind of has to like save her. Katniss doesn't have the mic skills to be considered the greatest babyface of all time. So over the top rope she goes. Now the field looks like this. Whoops. But don't worry, because you might have noticed that there were only 29 people in that picture. And there's still one more in the Rumble. And this person, I truly believe, is the number 1 greatest babyface in non-wrestling media. And you'll be surprised to know that it doesn't come from the world of video games or comic books or fantasy or sci-fi. No. The greatest babyface in non-wrestling media comes from Canada. Yes, I believe Wayne from Letterkenny is the greatest babyface in non-wrestling media, and I will explain it all to you right after we plug in. Yeah, I'm changing the order of things. It's supposed to be good for the algorithm. We'll see if this works, but we'll get back to the video once I get these quick plugs in. CZW returns to Love Park for We Love Wrestling on June 22nd at 6 p.m. This is a free show outside in Love Park in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So be sure to join us where you will see Junie Underwood go one-on-one with Journey Burke, Esquire. And the CZW World Heavyweight title is on the line as Aaron Ash defends against one half of the postgame, the standout athlete, Vinny Tallada. And my boys, Mob Hill, are making their debut in CZW. That is all day. James Gray, Jermaine, and Al De Niro, three people that made my breakout star list for 2024. And in trios action, they will be taking on the Lost Boys. This is going to be a lot of fun, and it's a free show, so join us on June 22nd. Also, quick YouTube alert. The first 2 episodes of HTW's Boiling Point are currently online. Head on over to the HTW, that's High Tension Wrestling YouTube page for Boiling Point. We're releasing 6 episodes, one every 2 weeks. And I am, of course, on the call. So head on over to HTW and enjoy some Boiling Point. For those of you who don't know, Letterkenny is a television show that was on Crave and then became a Hulu exclusive that was about the little Canadian town of Letterkenny and the people who live there. Because in Letterkenny, there's only 4 types of people. There are Hicks, there are hockey players, there are Christians, and there are Skids. And our hero is Wayne. Wayne is a fantastic protagonist, and I honestly believe that the first season of Letterkenny, just like in a bottle, is one of the greatest wrestling storylines ever put to television. If you don't watch the Fart Book episode, it's just not a good episode. But like, the contained story of that first season is a wrestler's journey. Like, the very first thing we see is Wayne seated on his property when he becomes face to face with a pair of hockey players that he doesn't like very much. So he starts chirping at him.
Look at that fucking treasure trail.
What's up with your fucking body hair, Big Shoots? You look like a 12-year-old Dutch girl. Your aesthetician coiffed that for you?
You can kiss my aesthetician. You guys do CrossFit?
You can cross fuck off.
Without even getting up or breaking a sweat, he's able to completely defuse and disarm these hockey players. That's because Wayne can get it done on the microphone. But can he get it done physically? Well, not anymore. At the start of Letterkenny, Wayne's gone through a really tough breakup. And everyone believes that because of this breakup, this girl has kind of clipped his wings.
Kurt cheated on you, buddy.
That's a real kick in the knackers, bro.
Just a real ouchie, bro.
It's too bad she taught you not to fight anymore, buddy.
He used to be the toughest guy in Letterkenny, but he doesn't fight anymore. He's just too beat up from this relationship. He's really taken the heat here. Now, I know it sounds like it's a bit of a cheat that I'm talking about the heat of like a wrestling match, and it's not really a physical battle in this one, and it doesn't even happen on camera. This is all like off-screen stuff, but like, it's an episode of Raw, you know? They cut to commercial and they come back, you know? So just stay with me. I have good points coming up here. So Wayne doesn't fight anymore until he sees someone picking on a mentally challenged person in a bar. And he snaps. And that brings back the old Wayne. And he beats the hell out of this guy and reclaims his title as the toughest guy in Letterkenny. And because of this, he now has to face off against everybody because everybody wants a shot at that title. And he doesn't want to fight, but he understands the responsibility of holding the title. So he takes on all comers. He's very cordial, lets them show up, onto his property and fights him. And they're not like quick knockouts. They're not squash matches. Like, everybody gets a few licks in on Wayne. But Wayne's able to overcome, win the fight, and extend a hand. Give that person a handshake on a job well done and a good fight. You're just not as tough as Wayne. Heck, even one time, Wayne wins a fight, shakes hands, and invites the guy to a super soft birthday party. Because Wayne wants to win, but do no more. It's not about hurting your opponent. It's simply about winning the fight. And every one of those fights kind of goes the same way. He comes out, flicks a cigarette, and pops the buttons on his shirt. This is how you know that it's time to fight. This is how you know that Wayne is going to throw down. This is his ritual that he does every time that he's going to fight. This is him being a babyface. And even though he's not fans of the Skids or the hockey players, he'll do anything because he cares for his sister and he'll fight for the right reasons. And this doesn't come up until later, but in later seasons you find out that Wayne had to really build everything for him and his sister because they left being Mennonites in order to build this farm. He had to work to gain everything that he has. Now, of course, more hands mean less work, but he did have to work for everything that he has. And he would never upset his sister unless, you know, she hit him or something.
Now, if you ever hit me and I find out about it...
But Wayne will always do what's right, even for people that he doesn't care about. But if it's for the good of Letterkenny, he'll do it. Like when the natives come, and they get ripped off by the Skids, but the Skids not willing to take responsibility for that, and thus all of Letterkenny will burn. Well, Wayne will show up with his comrades, even though one of them banged an ostrich.
Allegedly.
And go to war to fight for what's right and save his town. And even though he'd been through a war, when someone comes up to challenge for that title, he doesn't hesitate. He doesn't take a step backwards.
Who the fuck is the toughest guy in here?
That'd be me.
He puts that title on the line. And even though it wasn't fair, he gets knocked out. But that's what a babyface does. They take the heat. This way they can chase for that title. That's all just the first season of Letterkenny. One of the best written shows, one of the best comedies, and one of the best accidental displays of wrestling booking I have ever seen. And I think it might be on purpose. There is an entire bit on this show where they talk about professional wrestling. They're big wrestling fans. Heck, Squirrely Dan is a fan of Travis Huckabee. He's a fan of indie wrestling. So I'm very curious if Letterkenny knew what they were doing with that first season and knew that they were just booking a wrestling storyline in a comedy sitcom. I didn't need to say comedy and sitcom at the same time. Doesn't matter. In any case, that is my pick for the #1 babyface in non-wrestling media. I think you can put anyone up against Wayne from Letterkenny, and Wayne is a better babyface. But what do you think? This video took a really long time for me to make, so hopefully you enjoyed it. But if you think there was someone that deserved a spot in this Rumble that I forgot to put in there, please let me know. And if you think Wayne is a horrible choice, you're wrong. But feel free to sound off in the comments down below. I'm back. I finally got a video up. Hopefully I will see you next week, because it's hard to make these videos come out consistently. But the best way to know if a video is coming out it's with a subscribe. So be sure to subscribe to this channel so you know the next time that a +2 wrestling video is on the way. And on top of all that, I hope you have a great day.